Celtics Wizards predictions, the LA Clippers blow it up decision, and whether the Warriors will sweep the Jazz.
With Paul Pierce playing his final game, we count down our top 5 truth memories.
And we break down the Kawhi versus Harden matchup in the upcoming Spurs-Rockets series.
It's Monday, May 1st. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. Whether you're listening to the podcast, joining us live right now on NBA TV, or a little bit later on YouTube, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Taz Mellis.
Thank you for joining us.
To his right, it's the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lily, and last, certainly not least, over yonder, it is the bearded one, it's Trey Kirby.
Hey,
yo!
Those hops, man.
Yeah.
Mate, our producer,
that
Matt
guy
Austin's
jumps.
Oh, our producer
6'8".
Matt is huge. Yeah, he's massive. All right, look, we got a fun show tonight. We're going to count down our top 5 Paul Pierce memories, seeing as he's played his last game in the NBA, and we'll look ahead to tonight's 2 new series in Cleveland and San Antonio. But we start with a little true or false playoffs edition, looking back at the NBA weekend. Trey, you got the true or false questions. Go at it.
No doubt. The Wizards took a 16-0 lead to start game 1 of their series with the Celtics, then things took a turn. Markieff Morris rolled his ankle on Al Horford's foot, and Boston won the second and third quarters by a combined 30 points on their way to a game 1 win. That's bad news for you guys, because you all took the Wizards to win the series in 6 games. Well, I was the only one to pick the Celtics, taking them in 7 games. Guys, true or false? You want to change your Wizards in 6th prediction?
Nah, come on. I'm not
You get a
changing it.
mulligan, man.
No, I'm not doing it quite yet, because if Markieff Morris was out for the entire series, I would think about changing it. But he says he's going back in game 2. The truth is, Al Horford's a dirty player. Did you see him get I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, obviously. Did you see? That wasn't even a topic of conversation, because there's no possible way Al Horford did that on purpose. That being said, it changed the entire game, because that's their advantage in this series, is the boards. They grabbed 30.4% of available offensive rebounds this year against the Boston Celtics, their best mark against any opponent, and 21 second chance points against the Celtics. Again, their best against any opponent. They're just bigger, and that changed not only offensively, but defensively. He just helps out so much.
I thought that the Wizards started very well. Obviously, they got off to a great 16-0 lead, but then they kind of lost focus a little bit. And we do see this from the Wizards in the playoffs a little bit. And the Celtics pounced. You know, once they got their first couple of baskets, you could sort of see the momentum. The crowd gets into it. Isaiah Thomas took over. Horford was great. Crowder was great. But I think if the Wizards lock in and don't let those bad moments happen, those bad runs happen, I think they can easily get back into this game. But they just sort of, they get down and then they just kind of, I wouldn't say they gave up, but they just didn't have that same fight that they showed early on. And
So you're going false as well?
Yeah, I'm going false too.
Give me a true. Give me a true. I mean, honestly, because you're right. Now, Morris says he's going to play, and we'll see how much he's hampered. Because he could play, it doesn't mean he's going to be
It was a bad turn.
Yeah, he thought he may have broken at first. It was a really gross turn. But even if he plays, he could be hampered. And this squad, the Wizards, they rely more on their starting 5 than any other team left in the playoffs. Those guys played a ton of minutes together earlier this year, and obviously in the first round of Wall, Beal, Porter, Morris, and Gortat. If he's hampered or can't play for whatever reason, you know, their depth, which is already pretty
Thin,
shallow, pretty thin, comes into play even more, because then Kelly's bumped up there, and then you're giving Jason Smith probably more minutes. So I would say true, but it does sort of hinge on what type of Morris. Why can't we just get Marcus Morris?
Yeah, sneak him
Who
in
would
there.
know? He could just play.
No,
But
he was wearing the jersey in the first series, so he probably could slip in there.
My worry is that they will regret giving up this monstrous lead and shooting basically 50% from the free throw line and giving this one away a little later in the series. Maybe it's in the back of their head that this was the game to get in Boston. That being said, I just think they're such a good team, not ready to pull the plug quite yet. I think Al Horford was the guy who kind of made this go at the end of the game, because the Wizards were coming back. It felt like they were going to make a run where they were going to take the lead in the fourth quarter, but then Al Horford was the steady veteran hand that came in. He was the second ball handler, as you see him bringing the ball up from the backcourt. He had a near triple-double, 10 of 13 shooting. I thought he was the key to just sort of calming everybody down in the fourth quarter when the Wizards were making another run. Because you got to remember, the Celtics team is only there for the first time in the second round.
They also shot 19 of 39 on threes, the Celtics, which is great.
That's wild.
Huge.
But we saw that against the Bulls sometimes. When their shots are off, that can really cost them. So I don't expect them to shoot quite that well for the rest of the series, but when they do have games like that, they are tough to beat.
ultimately still think this will be a long series.
Yeah, I
being
think so,
6
yeah.
or 7 for either of these teams. All right, Trey, next one.
All right, moving on. After the Clippers' Game 7 home loss to the Jazz, In the 6th season since Chris Paul joined the team, they have a postseason record of 24-33, while famously never getting past the second round. CP3, Blake Griffin, and JJ Redick can all be free agents this summer, and you're going to hear this a lot. True or false? Clippers should blow it up.
You're going to hear this a lot. What does blow it up really mean? I think it is true if that means maybe not running back this exact same squad. Of course, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, maybe even JJ. I don't think that should happen. I don't even think it will happen. So I guess true. And I can't take another sort of Clippers sort of meltdown. Whatever the clip's going to clip, it's the Clippers curse, whatever you want to put on it. It's tough to watch. It is. I'm in a weird way, I was happy they lost Game 7 just to see if the Jazz can put up a fight against the Warriors, because I don't think I could see the Warriors running the Clips out of the building again, especially with the Blake Griffin injury.
But I think it's false, because why wouldn't you sign these guys to long-term deals and then potentially trade them and get something back for them? If I'm Doc Rivers, the GM, I want some value back for my young guys so I can be Doc Rivers, the coach, with some actual talented guys. You can't just let them leave, even if they...
What if Blake Griffin wants to leave?
I
like Chris, I don't see going anywhere because that $200 million is going to be in play.
Right.
But Blake may want to leave.
He may.
All three of them may want to,
Yeah.
but I say, hey, sign a max deal, make a lot of money, and then possibly
And then
trade
try
him,
trade.
because they'll all be tradable, obviously.
Yeah, I still would keep those three together, Blake, DeAndre, and Chris Paul. The problem with the Clippers remains their depth. They haven't done a good job surrounding those guys with talent. But if you have an opportunity to sign all-star talent, all-NBA talent, I don't think you let that walk for
Even
free.
if that all-NBA talent in Blake Griffin's case can't play half the time?
Well, we know that it tends to end this way for the Clippers in the season. Something goes wrong for them. But again, you've got to try to at least, when you've got those assets, you want to hold on to those, I think, as long as possible. Surround them with better talent. And again, you just have to hope things go better as far as the bad luck and the curses that the Clippers have. But I wouldn't let those guys just walk for free unless you're guaranteed someone free agent signing coming in who's going to be better than those guys.
I mean, we know Steve Ballmer's got deep pockets.
Yeah.
So if he wants to go into the luxury tax and start paying that repeater tax, he could do it if he wants to. Because that's
But again, if you're a free agent,
if they bring all these
if you're a
stuff
free agent and Chris Paul's left and Blake left, and it's like, do you want to go into a situation then when perhaps you are a good player, but they again don't have a quality support team around those guys?
But so is it a good season to you if the Clippers win 50 games and then lose in the first or second round?
Well,
every year?
obviously you expect more from them, but again, how many teams would love to be in the playoffs at least every single year in contention for a top four spot? A lot of teams would take that.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Trey, final one.
All right, thanks to the Jazz playing 7 games in their first round series and the Warriors needing just 4 to sweep the Blazers. You might have forgotten Golden State was even still in the playoffs, but they are, I checked. Dubs haven't played in a week, and game 1 versus Utah isn't until tomorrow night in the Roracle. So true or false, the Warriors are going to sweep the Jazz.
This reminds me of a couple years ago when the Warriors played the Grizzlies, because right now the Warriors are the 4th fastest pace in the league, the Jazz are the slowest. Back then in 2015, it was again a battle of paces, and the Grizzlies really slowed it down and got the Warriors rattled. But that was before they won their first championship. That's when they just didn't have it all together. At this point, I don't think you can rattle them by slowing it down. So I don't think it's going to be a sweep, but the Jazz are in tough. Very tough.
Yeah. No one's going to be picking the Jazz to win this series. I don't even think most Jazz fans would.
I mean, the Jazz, obviously, their best chance is to protect home court, make things difficult for them.
Muck it up, though, like Tass is saying.
exactly,
Just get this down to a super slow game. Have Joe Johnson and Gordon Hayward try and get you buckets in the half court. The only problem with that is the Warriors are great defensively in a half court setting, too.
They can match anything that the Jazz can throw at them.
That's sort of true.
You know, but I mean, we saw a pretty resilient Jazz team. I mean, let's not forget, they lost Rudy Gobert for basically the first 3 games of this series, and they still pulled out a road victory at Game 7.
Double digits.
Yeah, against a very good, at times, Clippers team. So they've proven that they can actually hang tough with teams. Right now, though, the challenge is, of course, the Warriors. We just think they're just going to walk out there and destroy anybody pretty much right now. They have to find a way to slow them down. Maybe the rust versus rest factor comes into play a little bit, at least for Game 1. Jazz will be hoping for that.
So we're all saying no sweep.
No sweep.
But it sure sounds like we're talking 5 or 6 here.